Новый Rainbow очистит ваш воздух и придаст жизненную силу и здоровье взамен на пыль. Звоните официальному представителю Rainbow 503 888 91 53 503 888 91 53.
Новости региона, выборы, кандидаты, стремления. Новая программа Slavic Vote Live. Каждую неделю в прямом эфире. Slavic Vote Live дает голос славянской общине по всему северо-западу. Мы говорим и информируем о важном Вашингтоне, Орегоне, Калифорнии. По четвергам в 17:00. Присоединяйтесь к прямому эфиру на 10:40 АМ. Ищите Slavic Vote в соцсетях. Мы намерены продолжать продвигать свое видение и оказывать любую необходимую поддержку сообществу, чтобы изменить ситуацию к лучшему. Slavic Vote Live.
Добрый день, вы слушаете передачу Slavic Vote Live. Спасибо всем, кто подключились. Меня зовут Дима Сащенко, с нами, как обычно, Ярослав. Ярослав, как у тебя самочувствие сегодня?
Хорошо.
Отлично. Как там погода сегодня?
Было хорошее, что-то сегодня такой гром бил, я думал.
Да,
уже.
да. Было интересно. Да, спасибо всем, кто подключились. Если вы знаете, наша организация называется Slavic Vote, и у нас каждый четверг проходит передача, называется Slavic Vote Live, где мы приходим и информируем, и напоминаем наше общество по поводу выборов, по поводу голосования, по поводу каких-то, может, новостей, что происходит в Орегоне, Вашингтоне и по всей Америке. И также поощряем, чтобы голосовали, чтобы также участвовали в этом деле. И это очень важно. У нас в этом году много чего происходит, как обычно, каждый год по поводу выборов, по поводу законов, всегда что-то происходит. И вот сейчас большинство всех, кто говорят или что-то обычно думают, это по поводу выборов школьных представителей или школьных директоров. И вот сейчас, сегодня, если вы нас слушаете, вы, скорее всего, уже получили ваши бюллетени, уже получили ваши журналы, за кого голосовать, или тех, кто будет на ваших бюллетенях. Если вы не получили, это значит, что вы, скорее всего, не зарегистрированы голосовать, или, может быть, еще просто не дошло к вам. Но я знаю, вот некоторые люди не получали свои бюллетени, и зная, что они зарегистрированы, если у вас такая проблема, значит, вы можете обращаться или к нам, или позвоните на избирательный участок. Там, конечно, могут помочь вам или поменять, может быть, ваш адрес вы забыли обновить, или что-то случилось во время этого. И я думаю, они могут вам помочь. Конечно, как обычно, обращайтесь к нам. Вы можете найти нас на социальных сетях, Instagram, Facebook. Вы можете написать нам напрямую. И также вы можете нас найти на нашем веб-сайте. Там можете напрямую нам написать тоже. И если вам нужно позвонить кому-то лично, вы можете позвонить по номеру телефона 971-244-2228. И, конечно, если вы получили бюллетени и вам нужна помощь проголосовать, у нас на нашем веб-сайте уже мы выставили некоторую информацию по поводу тех кандидатов, которые наше общество ближе, можно сказать, стоит, за кого бы мы поощряли голосовать, если вы так хотите, найти тех людей, которые, может быть, или верующие, или те, которые более стоят за принципы славянского общества, христианского общества и так далее. И вот если вам нужна помощь, вы можете найти ту информацию на нашем веб-сайте slavicvote.org. И еще раз повторю, slavicvote.org, там вы можете найти информацию по поводу кандидатов, которые, скорее всего, вы бы голосовали бы. И также, конечно, наши все передачи обычно у нас они находятся на нашем веб-сайте. Вы можете найти весь каталог наших бывших передачах и будущих. И также можете найти на нашем YouTube-канале Slavic Vote Live. Это называется передача. Ярослав, можешь, какие сейчас у нас новости по поводу в Орегоне или Вашингтоне? Я знаю, что у вас сейчас начинаются выборы в Вашингтоне по поводу школьных представителей, а в Орегоне уже проходят, правильно?
Да, у нас еще бюллетени, конечно, не пришли, потому что у нас чуть позже. Вот я думаю, сегодня как раз поговорим о Орегоне.
Да,
это будет более интереснее, потому что
конечно.
я думаю, как Дима подметил, что у наших, кто в Орегоне живут, уже, наверное, приходят.
Уже, да, приходят, или пришли, или еще идут.
Да.
Я знаю, что я еще свой не получил, но должен получить уже вот сейчас на днях. И будет, конечно, там не сильно большой бюллетень, но там это очень важно, потому что это школьные представители, которые будут ответственны за образование в вашем месте, в вашем городе. И, кстати, вот сегодня у нас гости как раз те представители, которые балансируются на эту позицию. И вот мы сегодня услышим от них, почему они балансируются, почему они решили так просто взять и бросить всю свою, можно сказать, все их дела и стать балансироваться на эту позицию. И вот у них есть интересные истории, некоторые причины, они поделятся с нами. У нас уже раньше были некоторые кандидаты, и также были некоторые другие, которые или балансируются, или те, кто, можно сказать, в этом деле. И вот сегодня у нас будут эти кандидаты. Завтра, на следующей неделе у нас будет также очень интересный кандидат и также председатель школьного комитета в городе Ньюбург. Мы немножко о нем так говорили. Он председатель в городе Ньюбург в школьной системе. И у него, короче, интересная история. Вы можете подключиться на следующей неделе, об этом послушать больше. А сегодня мы, конечно, продолжим с нашими гостями. Я хочу напомнить также, если вы живете в городе или в округе Кларк-Каунти, это в Ванкувере, большинство Ванкувер, Кларк-Каунти. Сейчас проходит очень интересная передача или программа, которая называется Rent Assistance. И вот если вам нужна помощь в финансово, может быть, покрыть какой-то рент, если вы, может быть, у вас не хватает или так далее. И вот сейчас программа проходит, чтобы помочь в этом деле. И если вам нужна помощь, вы можете найти эту информацию, где можно записаться или подать свою application для этой помощи на нашем веб-сайте. Опять slavicvote.org. Там есть место, где вы можете найти под линком Services. Там вы можете найти эту информацию, где можно и записаться на эту программу, и больше узнать, и также позвонить. И это очень, очень, конечно, важная тема, и вы можете больше узнать на нашем веб-сайте. Значит, сегодня у нас, я как сказал, гости с Clackamas County, которые балансируются на North Clackamas School Board. И вот мы немножко о них поговорим, и сейчас их представим. Конечно, мы перейдем на английский язык, и перейдем, чтобы с ними пообщаться по-английски. Спасибо большое, если вы подключились с нами. Надеюсь, вы остаетесь с нами, и надеюсь, вы будете с нами на этой передаче. Спасибо. Thank you very much for being here today. How are you?
Good. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Awesome. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourself and just kind of tell a little bit about who you are and your story, why you decided to run. And we'll just have you start with your name and where you're from and kind of the area that you're running for.
Okay. My name is Angela Peterson. I'm running for the North Clackamas School Board, position number 7. This is a really large school district. It has, we have 5 high schools, Clackamas High School, Adrian Nelson High School, Milwaukee High School, Rex Putnam High School, New Urban High School. We have around close to 16,000 students. We are losing enrollment right now, though. We should have higher enrollment. I actually grew up in this school district. I've lived in this community since 1978. I was a student. I graduated from Clackamas High School. My husband also graduated in '86 with me. Then I went off to college. I came back, and I was a teacher in the school district. I taught 4th grade at Mount Scott Elementary School for about 4 years, and until I went home to take care of my 3 babies. Mm-hmm. So raised 3 kiddos, super involved volunteer in the schools, substitute teacher. All 3 kids have now graduated recently from Clackamas High School, and I'm just very passionate and connected to the community and an educational advocate. And so I'm hoping to bring back some balance to our school board that's really out of balance right now and not representing all of our families.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Obviously, you sound very qualified for this position. I know when I ran a couple of years ago, obviously I wasn't qualified, but I tell the community, sometimes you just have to jump in and give it a try, because sometimes we have folks running who are not qualified and they're winning and they're not really doing the great of a job. So, a lot of times everybody, should really consider doing it if they have been considering it. Absolutely. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Amy Reiner, and I'm running for the North Clackamas School Board, Position 3. And unbeknownst to me, I actually entered this race a little over 2 years ago with my special needs child. He was unfortunately denied face-to-face learning during the COVID period when masking children was mandated and there were no special accommodations for special needs kids. And I was advocating for masking to be optional, and I was speaking at public board meetings during public comment. And then it just spiraled on from there, because once I got running, then I realized I don't like the way we're trending in terms of where our kids are academically, in reading and mathematics. And then I didn't really like the agendas that they started pushing with so much of the social emotional learning and that precious time being taken away from academics when you talk, minutes with how long you have these students. So with the passion, along with Angela and a few other folks that have been at ground zero with us for a little over 2.5, 3 years, we started speaking out and we started to mold into a different transformation and give a lot of folks out there that haven't had a voice. And I stand here before you today running on the platform of parental voice. Parents need to be involved, and we need to be back into the school districts and decision-making process as it relates to our child or our children's education. Two, I'm running also on transparency with curriculum. I am a big advocate that everything should be online, from what's in our school libraries to what our children are being taught. And there should continuously be an opt-out policy adapted, especially if you're, teaching your children in a different mold and moral beliefs per se. So there needs to be transparency with the curriculum. And then last but not least, I'm really trying to bring all the affinity groups together and not separate and divide as much as we've seen over the last 3 to 5 years. And with that, I'm hoping to gain as much ground and earn the vote on the board and start making those tough decisions and getting our education system back where it needs to be.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I know. Like you said, both of you are going to be on the ballot. So if folks are listening, so Angela, you shared your story briefly, and then Amy, you shared a little bit about yourself. So if you're voting right now, or if you maybe have your ballots sitting around, I would suggest to open those up right now, and then consider looking at the ballot and then deciding which candidate best fits for you. And I think we'll learn a little more about both of you and kind of your positions, and we'll get into some of the other things as well. So the community here in the Pacific Northwest, we have been silent for too long. For a long time, nobody was really doing anything, and a lot of them are starting to get more involved. And a lot of times they don't know what it takes to run for office. So maybe you can share a little bit about your process of what it took to. Is it a hard process? Is it an easy process? Does it cost a lot of money? Share a little bit about that, just for folks who maybe are considering doing it, but they've never really done it, and they're looking for some guidance.
Okay. This is our first time ever doing anything like this. And it started with the passion of working together, and coming together. So it was really nice to have the camaraderie there between us, the four of us, myself, Amy, Tara Nelson, and Courtney Swersbin. And so we together kind of researched and found out, how do we even apply to do this? And we got online at the county level to figure out how to just submit the initial application. We made sure that we all understood what the parameters were, the requirements, the $10 fee. And so that was just the very beginning of what has become a very steep learning curve. And we've had, fortunately, a lot of really great people with experience that have kind of helped guide us along the way for part of this. And, we just had to figure out, how do we get our message out? And we have, being here today is one of those pieces to this puzzle of how do we get our message out when we're unknown, and how do we get not everybody's watching those school board meetings, and they closed us out of those. We were hoping to reach some of the community by showing up at all the school board meetings, and I do think that did give us some traction and some name recognition. We'd been making waves.
And Courtney, who was on with us a couple weeks ago, she mentioned that it's currently online only. There's no in person.
Yeah, we went back to online in November of last year. So October of last year was our last face-to-face. And that was only, we were on, 3 months? Because they opened up face-to-face meeting in August, and then we went back to online in November. So
So even though the whole country is officially off of the...
Yeah.
We're
Here,
still...
our school board members were playing the I'm scared card and keeping everybody out. They came up with excuses of we don't have the technology to make sure that you can be speaking in person while people are online. Completely untrue. So we called them out every time, and then this last, we got shut down because it was really frustrating. They're supposed to allow 3 minutes per person to speak. And what they have been doing every step of the way, when they finally let us in person, they started they cut back our time from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. And then they said, we're only going to allow an entirety of 15 to 20 minutes each school board meeting. There's only 2 a month, only 15 to 20 minutes total. So that only allows a certain amount of speakers a brief period of time to try to convey a message. And with something as important as what we're trying to convey, it just seemed very disrespectful and unengaging. And so, there was that aspect. Then when we were trying to convey our message about some of the very upsetting material that's in our public schools right now, that we would like, a lot of people are trying to call us a bunch of book banners, to which we come back with, nope, that's not true. These books are published, but why are they in our schools? That's what we want to know. So we were pushing back on that. And as a result of that, I went over my time, my 2-minute time at the last October 27th meeting, and I was holding up a poster of one of the books that are clearly obscene and pornographic. And for that, they shut down the meeting and claim that they're receiving threats of violence, supposedly from people on our side. So they are constantly making excuses. They're dishonest, and they're manipulating the whole a message to be against anyone that disagrees with their agenda.
And this goes back to the messaging of transparency, right? I mean, they're preaching community involvement, parental involvement, but yet over the course of the last few years, they started tightening up public comment, closing down meetings. Now we're online. I don't think there's another school district besides Salem-Kaiser that is online with Zoom meetings right now. And it's not nationwide. So why is this school district wanting to continuously lock public comment out and community involvement out?
I think we know. They don't want our voices heard.
Right. Well, you mentioned that you've been, sounds like you go often to those board meetings, or you have. Tell us, I know the community, again, sometimes they don't know there's an option to come and speak your mind. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay, so what's really important, that Amy and I were parents, as I'm sure many of your listeners are. Parents are an integral piece of the education process. And when your schools start to feel that they're pushing you out, there's a problem. That's a red flag. And we saw this red flag that why are they keeping parents out? Why are they keeping volunteers out? I used to be a volunteer coordinator at my elementary school, and we had hundreds and hundreds. People were so proud of logging how many hours they put in a month, volunteering. All of a sudden, there's this shortage of volunteers because they're trying to keep parents out. And then they have the extra hurdle that you have to be vaccinated with the ridiculous COVID vaccine. They still are doing that in our district, and they say that you can have an exemption, but a lot of parents are like, no, I should not have to have a special exemption to work in my children's school with this kind of made-up requirement that is useless. And it's just such a message of disrespect, and they're trying to divide us from our children. So when the government starts showing signs that they're trying to take over your children's education and their, well, we'll get into this, but their medical treatments as well, which we're seeing become part of the school system, then you should be concerned. Yeah. So we want to get in there and be a voice for parents, sound the alarm bells, let them know what's happening so that parents are informed. Parents can show up to school board meetings, and they should. They're usually twice a month. You can find it on your school district's website. Our district doesn't make it easy to find it. It's like you have to go search, like, how do I even find where those school board meetings are? And so you have to do a Google search for your district name and school board meetings, and just start there and find out on a calendar when you can show up and what the process is to speak.
Yeah,
and
each
start
district's
speaking.
a little bit different in terms of how you're able to make public comment. Some are great, where you have Westland, Wilsonville, where you can show up the day of at that time and sign up to speak. Our district, you have to go through a process of submitting a file before 3 p.m. the day of, and your Google link gets submitted. So it's a little bit different in each district.
What's the board right now consist of? Who are the current board members, if you don't mind sharing?
There are 7.
7, wow.
A
lot of times it's like 5.
Yeah.
But here it's 7, right?
There's
So
7, and
big area.
it's bigger, yeah.
What's interesting is that a lot of the most influential voices, they didn't even have to run a campaign to be on the board, because people just weren't really interested or not knowing what was going on, or that it was important to be on the board. And so some of these people that have been causing so much a division in our district didn't even compete to be on in this position, and I feel like they want like all of this power to run an agenda, because all 7 of these board members seem to be in alignment with certain political ideologies and agendas that happen to align with teachers' unions. And we can get into that more, but you'll start to see the link that the kids are not at the center as much as they might say they are. Kids are losing out because their agendas are the main focus.
So it sounds like the whole board is one-sided, essentially. There's no others on the board who might have a different opinion. So
No, they vote 7-0 across the board on every progressive policy that they've made and have written.
So how
last
many
few years.
seats are opening up for this specific?
4.
4 seats.
Yep,
the
there's
7.
4 seats.
Okay, so we've met
Courtney
already.
Yes.
And she told us there's a whole team, and I'm like, what? How are you guys doing this? And
Yeah.
we're trying to kind of get an idea on the radio, like what's this team consists of. Now I see, I'm like,
We're the
wow,
dream
this is.
team.
Yes.
I was
We are
gonna
the
say
dream
this
team.
is
We're gonna
this is
flip
amazing.
4
So who's the
flip 4
4th
seats.
person?
Tara Nelson, which is awesome. She is like the
gotta invite her over,
brains.
too.
But she's an amazing mom.
I've met her, yeah, she's great.
It's her second time too. She's not given up. She ran for the school board race last time, and she's coming back. And the 4 of us together can do amazing things, because if we can flip all 4 of these
Have a
seats,
majority.
then we have
Yes.
some. We can actually make some changes.
So this is a very I don't want to say it's a touchy subject. It is a touchy subject because it's our kids and families and education. I mean, for goodness sake, if you teach them wrong, what's going to happen in the 10 years. But as far as what you're seeing, I mean, like for example, Courtney, she mentioned that a lot of people are thinking, it's just a school board. What are they going to do? In the Slavic community, this was actually the subject that got 30-year veterans that never voted
Wow.
up and running. Just because we kind of, as far as the Slavic community, we kind of just sat on the sidelines.
yeah,
America's great, everything's going good.
yeah.
Until that one thing happened, and what was it exactly? It had something to do with
the sexual education.
yeah, sexual education, and that just we're like, whoa, 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 whoa! This is like starting to feel like back home
Right.
back in the day.
Yep.
Well, because
So-
it's being forced upon you, right?
Yeah.
And forced upon in a teaching setting.
Well, we used to be able to like write kids out of specific subjects if we
Yeah.
didn't do it, didn't want them to participate. Now it's like you really don't have a choice.
Yep.
So, from what you described, let's just start with the online part of it. They're doing online meetings because we know that there's probably some kind of a fear of the public. And I mean, imagine if you have 10 people, 15 people get together and they think the same way, and the board consists of only 7 people,
Right.
you already have a majority in the way. Were there any other ways of getting this fixed or overturned besides actually running for the board?
No, actually.
Or is the board the one that's deciding, even though the country and the states have moved past it already? The board is still deciding we're going to do this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're just actually a voice piece for the state of Oregon. I mean, the state of Oregon is supporting everything that they're doing.
Okay.
Our Oregon Department of Education is pushing some of this material through to our districts, and the school board, our school board in particular, is amplifying it and saying, "Yep, let's go. We're helping usher in some of this extremely explicit sex ed, or the lack of academics, the lowering of the graduation rates, all of these things that we are concerned about, the dividing the parents from the children, all of this is coming from the state of Oregon, and this school board is put in place specifically by the progressive left and the teachers unions to achieve fulfillment of that agenda.
Well, interesting. So I know we talked about the importance of the board, importance of these positions. After we come back from the break, I wanted you to get a little bit more into what exactly the board does, what's their role, how are they important. So we're going to get into that a little bit after the break.
Okay.
And then until then, I just wanted to thank our sponsors for allowing us to be here. And of course, it takes resources to be on this show. It takes a time. So a lot of our sponsors that allow us to be here, there's small businesses from the Slavic community here in Portland Metro area, and we want to thank them for allowing for us to be here. And one of those organizations is a Third House Media Strategy Organization. They've helped us rebuild our website. They've helped us in all sorts of things, and so we want to thank them. And Victoria is one of the ladies that are spearheading that organization or that business. So Third House, again, thank you for the work that they do. Solution 8020, obviously the tax season just passed. That's another business that does a great job with taxes. Solution 8020. America Best Realty, a great realty organization here that's been operating for a long, long time here, and a good friend of the organization. Of course, Sabroni, Pilmeni, everybody knows who those guys are. Definitely don't forget to visit their food cart down in Portland, downtown area. Dream House Construction, Exceptional Homes, Gold Cup, obviously a great coffee house. And there's much more that I won't get into because we won't have enough time. But those are some of the folks I wanted to highlight today. And I just want to remind folks, if you are listening to us, if you support the work that we do, please consider donating and supporting our mission, supporting our organization. You can simply visit our website, slavicvote.org, hit that button and support us. Join forces with us. Join our efforts by contributing and helping us continue this mission. So again, I want to thank everybody for supporting us, for supporting us either financially or just out there sharing our information on social media, sharing our content and videos and things like that. So again, visit our website, slavicvote.org, if you like to learn more about what we do, if you like to support us in any way. And of course, if you want to actually get involved as well, we're always looking for more folks to get involved with us, either going out and doing drives with us, maybe doing other aspects of this organization. We have a lot of things that we do, and that we can always use some help, especially right now during the election. We have a lot of folks are looking for ways to get support from us, and we're always happy to get more folks involved. And then we just believe in general, I think the more of the community gets involved, the more we invest ourselves into the process, the more we know what's going on, and we can actually start changing things around. I also want to, again, remind about the rent assistance that is happening in Clark County. So if you live in Clark County, if you live in the city of Vancouver and the surrounding cities. Again, that is part of the Clark County. You're paying rent and you're struggling in that. You can always you can go on our website, also find information about applying for this rent assistance, where they will help you pay off your rental. Again, this doesn't cover the mortgages, but it covers the rent. So simply visit our website, slavicvote.org, and you will be able to find a link where you can apply for this. You learn more, call, and there's going to be applications or the information in Russian, in English, and Ukrainian, where you can learn more about that. So again, rent assistance for Clark County residents available on our website. Thank you very much for everybody who's tuned in. We're having a great program with some great guests today. We got Amy, we got Angela, and they're both running for school board. And we've been operating in this area for 4 years. This is our 4th year now, and going on to the 5th. And we've been doing this for a while. And usually I start the program with this, but we didn't. And I wanted to have, just in case our listeners who are tuning in for the first time, they're like, who's Slavic Vote? Who are these guys? What do they do? And I just want Yaroslav to quickly remind our folks who are, again, tuning in for the first time, what exactly do we do as an organization?
Sure. Yeah, we're, like Dima said, about 4 years old, nonprofit. So the reason we even became an organization is because we saw that the Slavic community has been living in the U.S., like I mentioned before, and just, I mean, a lot of us didn't vote 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And like I said, the U.S. was a great country that we came to. We reaped kind of the benefits. A lot of the Slavic community went into business right away. Didn't really go into politics until that one event happened, especially with the sex ed stuff. And the Slavic community is like, oh, we got to vote, but nobody's getting the ballots. So the first question was like, why not? So the first 2 years we kind of spent just getting people registered. That's all we did, is just go to registration drives after registration drive. But then we realized that going up to Olympia or Salem and doing rallies, it hurt. It's good to a certain point, but it doesn't actually fix anything, sort of, in the long term anyway. Right. It does short term, the morale, the boost.
Sure.
But we realized that the Slavic community just needed education, because when you read those pamphlets, oh my goodness, if you're not a lawyer or you don't have a lawyer degree, good luck.
It's overwhelming.
So we
Even
kind of
for native English speakers.
we kind of, well, same here. I was practically born here. And we just kind of started doing the educational part. Then we started doing the more of the action. So we were trying to get the Slavic community to actually go into smaller positions. And like Dimitri mentioned, some of our board members were like, we're going to go for school board. That's the easiest thing that's out there. It's low pickings.
Yeah.
But in your guys' case, it's not, because from what Courtney said, the district that you guys are covering is so big and vast. It's not probably going to be an example of like the lady in the Canby that, she was a stay-at-home mom. She ran and didn't even run, but she won. I don't think that's going to be happening, specifically in these larger areas. But that's what we were trying to get the Slavic community to actually become active. Because if you're not going to the school boards, if you're not going to just the county meetings, you don't know what's going on in your area. Right. Are they going to build a bridge or a road right next to you? You have no clue until it actually happens or it shows up on the bill, in a couple months. So that's what we're kind of trying. So education was major. We're just kind of in the activation stage right now and going from there.
Absolutely. I mean, because
so glad you are.
If the folks are we can complain as long as we want to, but until we actually start doing something, that's the only time we're going to see change. So, so I'm glad to see folks getting involved, and people that I sometimes think that would never get involved, they're getting involved, at least voting. I mean, that's what we're at least asking for. Make sure you vote every year. Vote always and vote often. Yeah. So and we're seeing that, and which is great. And a lot of people are moving out of the state as well. So we might not see that effect as much as we like because the people are moving out. Yeah. But I'm hoping in the long run that's when we're going to see the change. So we're excited about that. So before we went to the break, we slightly got into a question that I was going to have you get into, and basically talk about a little bit about we talked about the importance of this board, why it's so important to run for board, why you guys are running. But let's talk about what exactly does the board do? What exactly is the significance? Some of the roles, and what are the areas that they have big influence in?
I would say number one would be they get to write policy, rules and regulations, right? And you saw that over the last few years, or Angela and I saw that over the last few years when they started to take away public comment and go from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. Well, that was just a policy revision that they changed with how they're constructing their meetings. Well, another policy change going from face-to-face to now online meetings for public comment. I didn't realize this with how powerful people on the board have and how powerful the position is. And it wasn't until I was that pissed off mom realizing that her child was going to be denied face-to-face learning because I was not going to have my special needs son wear a mask. And that's where I was at. And that's what drove me into, getting active. And you mentioned it. It's all about getting active. And when you realize that there's something that kind of ticked you off, you realize, okay, that was enough to push me over. Now it goes from conversation into action. And I think the fact that we can change policy would be the number one thing that I would really start attacking in some of the current policies that we have now and try to abolish and rescind.
Does that include also the curriculum?
It does. Well, they have to abide by what the Oregon Department of Education comes down in terms of certain curriculum. And I know Angela is an expert in that field, knowing that she's got that education background. But they get to pick and choose and kind of weave it in any which way they can, as long as they're abiding by Oregon Department of Education. But we're in such a progressive school district that it's just coming down from, top to bottom without any conversation or community input.
Anything else that you want to, what else on the board also,
Well,
is it more than that?
Well, the policies is a big one, and it's not. I mean, like for example, it's our school board that decided to keep our students in this huge district online. They did not have to do that, but this school board led with fear against for this whole COVID issue. And meanwhile, Estacada was open for months before North Clackamas. And Estacada, I know it's a smaller school district, but they had dialed in such an awesome online program that those kids were actually learning more and producing more academically when they were online because they did such a good job of that. And then when they had the kids come back earlier, they just seemed to have the kids' best interests in mind and not so led by this political fear agenda with COVID. So that is huge when the board could have brought kids back sooner, months sooner. And so these policies can affect so many areas. The porn and the obscenity in our libraries, that's not mandated to be in our libraries. So we could totally go in there and say, hey, we're going to take a look at some books. We're happy to form a committee made up of parents, teachers, board members, community,
students.
Yeah. Well, we don't want them seeing some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at because it's not appropriate for minors.
Yeah, they won't even show them at the school boards either. So.
Oh my goodness.
We do want their voice at the table. So.
Absolutely. But no, the other portion of this as a school board member is that the people on the left in our legislature are trying to take away, and I think they have successfully, they're trying to remove the school board's powers. They're trying to restrict it because they see what's happening. They see that there's an uprising of people that are done with what's going on here. And so they're going to try to peel away the power of the school boards to beat us to the finish line, essentially. But one of those things is that the school board, I don't know if you're familiar with the Newburgh School District, but they did elect several conservative candidates to the outrage of much of that community. And what they did was they immediately fired their superintendent, who was instilling some of this inappropriate or questionable agendas and curriculums and policies. So the school board can fire the superintendent. They can replace them. I need to look into the details, but I think now they've restricted the boards to where you can let that superintendent know that, you know, you're on warning. We have up to a year to remedy
Right.
the disagreement. So we can't immediately now get rid of the superintendent. And we don't want to go in there and try to do that. We don't want to take over and start just, you know, obliterating.
We want to bring balance.
We want
We do.
balance.
And
We-
accountability.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
we,
accountability.
we want to compromise. They have not modeled any kind of compromise. Like, we don't have to have it all our way. We're there to meet them at the table and make some deals, make some compromises, because we're just going to not agree on some things, and we have to figure it out. So that's what we are hoping we can model. We can help set the tone, that there's a culture that is more inclusive and willing to listen to both sides of issues.
Absolutely. And I think budget is another one that's part of the board.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
that's
huge.
the other one. They get the seat at the table with the budget, right? And where the funding goes and what line item they're going to have represented on that balance statement. And when we open up the books to North Clackamas School District and you realize that they're spending $23,000 per student, when that state average is between $15,000 and $16,000, it's concerning. Right? It's concerning. And
Yeah.
even if you don't have a child or, you know, anyone within the school district, from a taxpayer standpoint, it's concerning, because what we're seeing now is a 3% decline in enrollment, specifically in North Clackamas School District, which means that in the next few years, there'll be another school district levy where they're going to ask the taxpayers to, you know, ride the backs of the 3% loss of, you know, student enrollment within that school district. So it doesn't matter whether or not you have a child in the school district, they've already graduated, or not. If you're a taxpayer, you need to vote just as much as, you know, the folks with the kids and the mama bears and you know, the folks riding the lines with everyone else.
And I want to just add to that, this whole loss of enrollment that we're seeing. What is so frustrating is that the district is now threatening to cut teachers because of the lack of income they're receiving as a result of the low enrollment. But the low enrollment is in much part due to their inability to listen to the community and what it is that we are frustrated with and need to change. And parents are yanking their kids out of this district left and right because they don't feel heard. They feel completely disrespected, disregarded. And I would say that we want to address right away, like, how can we help regain the trust and confidence in our community that they will allow their children to come back into our schools? I mean, this is a real burden on families who are already struggling to make ends meet, and they're having to sacrifice and try to figure out how to homeschool and pay for a private school on top of all of this. Why are we not trying to listen to the community and meet the needs of every
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Well, you mentioned
in the last couple of years, and that's with thousands of new homes and apartment buildings having just been added in the last year to our district. We're still down. Like, it's very concerning.
There was a school levy that was passed a few years back where they projected in 5 years we'd have 18,000 students within the school district. We're well over 2,000 students short of what they've projected. So we're already looking at a deficit in terms of funding within this school district. So it's a matter of allocation. Where are we spending the money, and how can we allocate it appropriately by cohesively bringing two, you know, parties together and, you know, two organizations together to come up with that solve.
I did see at least one levy in Clackamas and I think two in Multnomah County. Can you speak a little bit about the current levy that's in Clackamas? Do you guys are familiar with the one that's being passed?
Are
Do
you talking about
support
the
it?
fire district levy? I think
I
that
think it's
was
the
on
fire
the ballot.
one. Yeah, I know it's not school related, but I don't know if you know anything
Yeah.
about that. Normally I
I
lean
know very
towards
little,
no.
only because we've been so
Yeah.
focused on just our campaign. But we did attend a forum at a place in Milwaukee where we did listen to some of the candidates running for Fire District 1, I believe, and then a little bit on the levy that they're trying to pass. I think that they're wanting additional funds to make sure that they have a full-time fire stations with employees 24/7 in some of the more rural areas that are more prone to the forest fire situations that we've seen over the last few years. So
Yeah, personally, I always, when in doubt, vote no. So
I know.
when it comes to anything tax
Well, that's
related.
the thing is that it sounds like, wow, I want to support this, but you know, they've really lost the confidence. I'm sorry. It's like,
Exactly.
you know what? The government is not being accountable.
Yep.
They're not being responsible with our hard-earned money. And so it's really difficult to, please don't talk to us about needing more money. And not only that, I've heard people speak to the fact that why is it always that we go to asking for more money as if that is the only solution to raising academic levels? How about we change some of our behaviors? How about we listen to the parents? How about we cut some of these heavy administrative positions and focus on making sure we have low classroom sizes and we have plenty of teachers to give individual instruction to students who need it. That's where we need to focus our money, is on lower classroom sizes, more teachers. Teachers need to feel supported. We have teachers dropping out of the profession at an alarming rate. What we want to also get across, myself having been a teacher, we have some excellent teachers in the North Clackamas School District who are holding the line. They are silent little warriors in there protecting our children. They can't speak their mind because they are silenced. They are threatened with termination if they do not get in line with the agenda. But they are holding the line, and they are, silently, protecting kids inside our schools.
Right.
And we need them. We don't want them to leave.
Yep.
So if we can get in there and help, foster a culture that is more, emboldens these teachers that have been so beaten down by this powerful leadership that's there right now. And then, every teacher is overworked right now. Every teacher is dealing with unprecedented behavior problems. And then they have these policies now where they don't hold kids accountable for their poor behavior, which is just a, snowball effect. As you can imagine, the disruptions in classrooms is really interfering with the educational process. And I know a lot of parents are upset about that too. So there's a lot of different areas that we'd like to address.
So another just quick question as we're kind of winding down here. Talking about the first question that Demetra had with what scope the school boards have. I had one of my kids come home. This is before we made him go and actually do homeschooling about 2 years ago. They came home and they're like, we don't have any homework anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, we're not going to have homework ever again. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I actually went into the school and talked to the teachers, and yeah, apparently they just eliminated homework just like that. Not saying that, they can do studies if it's productive or not to bring homework after school, but we see that the standards keep falling in lower and lower. And it seems like when Oregon does it, then Washington follows, or the other way around. It's kind of either reading or writing anymore. We're like, no way. How's that possible? What's the point of school? And I think this is probably one of the main reasons why parents pulled kids out of school, is because they're like, are they even teaching them anything there? I mean, we love the teachers and everything else. We know they're doing their best, but how much control do you think the boards have over the standard of education that the kids receive? Besides, like adding more teachers if that's needed, making smaller classrooms, and is there any kind of pull that the school board would have towards education standards?
That's a really good question. What was being the top priority, and helping provide and with this threat of budget cuts, of teacher trainings that have nothing to do with helping them teach the teachers weren't equipped. No, I mean, I'd like to look at all of these. Too much homework in some regards, but to take it
Is Angela, the approved or make sure that we have the right curriculum, right? We're bringing in, cursive writing. We're away from the basic essential.
Awesome, thank you. Of the unions on the board, on the school system, and I know that in 2019, every year the unions, and I've been reading about that a little bit, and in 2019, there was a motion to bring that balance to the schools and to vote for essentially a re-engagement of putting the education and putting the quality of education back as a priority. And the unions themselves and the leadership voted that down. They didn't want to vote that in, and they didn't want that to be the priority. So it shows that education is not their priority.
Correct.
The politics or their agendas is their priority. So again, what exactly, with your guys' race, have you seen, the union's involvement in either helping you or opposing you, and then vice versa?
Oh, yes, they are very other education association, which is the local, the teacher case. We are proudly not endorsed. Well, wants to maybe terminated reasoning. The teacher, the House Bill 2000, your child procedures, and it can stay involved in and these able to age 15.
Exactly.
How it has adopted 5 siblings that were all come from a traumatized past, and all 5 of these kiddos were identifying as having gender dysphoria. So this is a social contagion. A lot of these kids that are choosing this gender dysphoria is just that. It's kind of a little bit of a trend or a social contagion. And they're struggling. These kids are like hurting inside. Something's missing. They need help. So the school takes over when the parents don't agree. The grandparents did not agree to transition this 15-year-old girl, and they proceeded to help her transition without them knowing from the school campus. This was starting in 2018 from Milwaukee High School. They transported this 15-year-old after they excused her from 2 class periods without the parents knowing, took her off campus to a clinic to receive an injection to end her menstrual cycles to affirm her gender dysphoria. This young girl proceeded to have a mental breakdown, was very suicidal, ran away from home, and what ended up happening was the counselors at the high school blamed the adoptive grandparents, saying that it was all because they didn't affirm her gender dysphoria, and they ended up getting investigated for not making a safe home environment. And safe, now they've changed the meaning of the word safe. If you just simply are not agreeing with your child's hope, possibly temporary feelings of being in the wrong body, if you don't let them medically transition and take puberty blockers, that you are unsafe for them to be with. It's really terrifying. So the teachers union is involved in propagating this whole trend. Anyway, that's what we're vehemently against.
Right. And of course, you mentioned those teachers who don't agree with those kind of things or their union, they now have the option to suspend or leave their union and no longer fund those. And that includes, sounds like it includes all the other unions out there that are government unions. Is that correct? So anybody who is part of a government union, they can resign their membership as well.
I'm not sure on that. I think that's correct.
Yeah,
But-
it is. Yeah,
Okay.
I've done a little bit of reading
Okay.
on that. So yeah,
Thank you,
Which is
yeah.
great. Which is more options for the
Exactly.
public employees. And I know we have a big community who is home care providers that pay a lot of money into those unions as well, and without even knowing, a lot of times that they're either in a union or they can actually get out of that union or
Right.
actually remove that money from that and keep it in their own paychecks.
Well,
So-
I feel bad for those employees because they're making a tough decision. They want that protection, but yet they don't want to support an entity that's 100% political
Right.
that goes against their values.
Well, thank you very much. We're unfortunately coming to an end. The one question that I still had left, I know you have a few questions. Anything that you want to jump in and before we end
forfeiting
this?
everything that I had.
Obviously, the community is a big, they're big on school choice and,
Yes.
and the homeschooling. So, we didn't get too much into that, but I'm sure you guys, as you have your own kids and you, I'm sure you looked into that options. Do you, are your children in school right now or homeschooled, or what's the current situation?
My 3 children are homeschooled.
Homeschooled.
When we were denied face-to-face learning, we made that tough decision and pulled him into having his parents be the responsible party of moving his education forward. And now we kept on that trend,
Right.
and he's been homeschooling for the last few years. And then
Right.
I have 6-year-old twins that are in kindergarten, and they just finished their first year of school, so they get a little bit of an extended summer being at home school because we get a little bit of flexibility of how we can teach our children.
And anything?
My 3 kids all graduated from North Clackamas School District, but if we had another hour, I could share with you some stories as to why I am so passionate about running for this position.
Right.
But yes, I think school choice is a very necessary thing that needs to happen because the public school system has a monopoly and they need the competition.
Yes, it
They
breeds
need
competition.
to correct some of these issues that we're having. And I think competition is the only way that's going to happen.
And people are paying it for it regardless. So don't matter if you have any kids, you're 90 or 100, still vote.
Yep.
That's right.
I recommend
right.
it.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your stories, your passion for your district and why you're running and getting involved. And any last words you want to tell the community, kind of what you just want to address the community directly for another minute and share your heart.
Sure. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak here with you today. Your voice is important. So if your ballot is at home and you haven't filled it out yet, please vote for Tara Nelson, Courtney Swearsberg. Did I say that right? Angela Peterson and Amy Reiner for North Clackamas School Board race.
Yes. Please vote for the 4 of us. All 4 of us need to win in order to make a difference. And then if you're not in our district, please find out who is running and don't support the ones supported by the teachers' unions.
Awesome. And obviously this election is like every other election, very important.
Yep.
So it's definitely really important to get involved. Again, if you haven't received your ballot yet, there's 2 reasons. Either you need to update your address, and so reach out to your school, to your elected local elections office, or you might not be registered. And you might have been removed from the rolls, and that means you have to update your information. So definitely do that. Visit our website, slavicvote.org. You can find a place there where you can register to vote, and you can start voting as well in the future elections. So please do that. We really appreciate everybody tuning in. You were listening to Slavic Vote Live with me today, Yaroslav. My name is Dimitri. Thank you to our guests, Amy and Angela, for coming on and sharing their story. We will see you guys next week. Next week, we're going to have another great program with the school board chair of Newburgh that we mentioned briefly, the name and the school board. And he's going to share his story. We've mentioned his name multiple times. So him and his wife are gonna come and share their story next week, and I think it'll be a great program.
We'll have to tune into that.
Tune into that, yep. And they're great friends of ours, and I think they're doing some good things, and they're running for re-election. They're currently already in the role that you are trying to achieve.
Yeah.
They're in that role, standing firmly, standing against a lot of the stuff.
And they need to hold those seats.
Correct.
Yep.
And they're all
Yep.
running for re-election. So I
Good.
know not all of them. There's some new people that stepped in,
Yeah.
but Dave Brown is standing strong, and I believe
Good.
one more that's an incumbent. And I'm guessing all the 4 people that's running against you, are they all incumbents?
They are not actually.
They're not,
Only
okay.
we. I think that we beat them down for so long that 3 of the board members said we're not
Wow.
coming back.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we've been making progress.
That's a good.
So there's 3 newbies that are competing and 1 incumbent.
Change is coming.
Yes.
Change is coming.
So that helps you quite a bit because it's always hard to beat those incumbents.
Right.
So that's great. Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, you were listening to Slavic Vote Live. We will see you guys next week, every Thursday.
Внимание! Редакция медиахолдинга Slavic Family не несет ответственность за содержание рекламных сообщений и авторских программ.
Новости региона, выборы, кандидаты, стремления. Новая программа Slavic Vote Live. Каждую неделю в прямом эфире. Slavic Vote Live дает голос славянской общине по всему северо-западу. Мы говорим и информируем о важном Вашингтоне, Орегоне, Калифорнии. По четвергам в 17:00. Присоединяйтесь к прямому эфиру на 10:40 АМ. Ищите Slavic Vote в соцсетях. Мы намерены продолжать продвигать свое видение и оказывать любую необходимую поддержку сообществу, чтобы изменить ситуацию к лучшему. Slavic Vote Live.
We citizens will sing our praise of you. America, you're on my mind. America, you'll always be America. America, it's true. Americans, let's all join hands in song and brotherhood. With love of land and fellow men to serve the common good. America, the land of hope. America, you'll always be America. America, it's true. America, you're going strong. Let's fill the air with cheers. America, keep moving on. Another 200 years. America, you're in my heart. America, you'll always be America. America, love you. America, you're in my heart. America, you'll always be America. America, love you. America, America, America.
Внимание! Новая программа помощи для жителей города Грэшем, штат Орегон. Если вы испытываете финансовые трудности и живете на территории города Грэшем, обращайтесь, пожалуйста, в Славянский общественный центр. Эта специальная программа предназначена для людей, которые потеряли работу, потеряли рабочие часы из-за болезни, например, были вынуждены уйти с работы. И наша организация «Славянский общественный центр» готова вам помочь с частичной оплатой коммунальных счетов, а также предоставить вам продуктовую корзину. Это одноразовая помощь, счета оплачиваются частично, бюджет программы ограничен, и программа предназначена только для жителей города Грэшем. Пожалуйста, за дополнительной информацией звоните прямо сейчас. 503-272-1470, 503-272-1470. Новая программа помощи для жителей города Грэшем. Если вы испытываете финансовые трудности и живете на территории города Грэшем, обращайтесь прямо сейчас в Славянский общественный центр. Звоните 503-272-1470, 503-272-1470. Мы с вами.
Slavic family.
Внимание! Клиника Vista Dental сделает вашу улыбку вновь сияющей и проведет в полную реконструкцию всего за несколько посещений. Вы будете улыбаться и не стесняться. Порадуйте вашей улыбкой окружающих. Клиника Vista Dental работает со славянской общиной более 20 лет и собирается сотрудничать и в дальнейшем. И, конечно, Это специалист высокой квалификации в области косметической стоматологии и в работе с имплантами доктор Мо Салех, а для близких и клиентов просто доктор Мо. Клиника Vista Dental предлагает доступные и качественные услуги по косметической стоматологии и имплантации зубов. Клиника удобно расположена в Ванкувере по адресу 500 South-East 192 авеню, Ванкувер, Вашингтон, 98683. 500 South-East 192 авеню в Ванкувере. Звоните прямо сейчас и записывайтесь на appointment 360 858 2080 360 858 2080 360 858 2080 360 858 2080. Клиника Vista Dental сделает вашу улыбку вновь сияющей.
Slavic family.
Там, де для когось тільки лютий за вікном, на моїй вулиці давно вже весна, і дух захоплює, немов він висоти, бо так живу, немов літаю я, так немов літаю я, кожну мить, коли зі мною ти. І я на небі, мила моя на небі, зоря моя на небі, відколи тебе знайшов. І я на небі, мов на земному небі, мила, коли з тобою літаю і знов, і знов. І я не знаю, як світанок настає, і як закінчився улюблений альбом, бо не бажаю ні хвилини самоти, і так живу, немов літаю я, так немов літаю я, кожну мить, коли зі мною ти. І я на небі, мила моя на небі, зоря моя на небі, відколи тебе знайшов. І я на небі, мов на земному небі, мила, коли з тобою літаю і знов, і знов. А часом, коли я сам не свій, і в голові дивні думки, і на душі сумно, згадую я очі твої, і все стає, мов навпаки, теплим таким. І я на небі, мила моя на небі, зоря моя на небі, відколи тебе знайшов. І я на небі, мов на земному небі, мила, коли з тобою літаю і знов, і знов. І я на небі, мила моя на небі, зоря моя на небі, відколи тебе знайшов. І я на небі, мов на земному небі, мила, коли з тобою літаю і знов, і знов, літаю і знов, і знов, літаю і знов, і знов.
Сделай свой бизнес успешней. Телефон рекламного отдела медиацентра Slavic Family 971 238 46 87. 971 238 46 87.
You are listening to KXPD 1040 AM, Radio Slavic Family.
Ти бачив, як заходить сонце? Чи ти коли-небудь бачив, як сідає сонце? Чи ти чув, як літають бджоли? Чи ти коли-небудь чув, як літають бджоли? Різниця тільки в тому, чи ти дійсно жив, чи ні. Бо якщо ти не чув і не бачив, тоді значить ні. Як пишуть книжку, чи ти чув, як співають пісню, чи ти коли-небудь чув, як співають пісню? Різниця тільки в тому, чи ти